Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here, May 1st, 2021, from my temporary abode here in Santa Monica, California. Greetings wherever you may be. If I may, this is a heartfelt sharing, hopefully over the next 2 days, of my, I want to say, health crises, but it's not really that for me. And it's more of existential gift. Now, let me just pause here. This is purposely unprepared. This is unknown where I'm going to go. And if I may say with all humility, that in large part of what I'm sharing is for me. I do what I do and share and speak and interrelate here in this process with the good people in my life. Some I know intimately, others I don't. To try to understand my own inner beingness, especially here over the last year in both mandatory lockdown in Los Angeles and, of course, in purposeful seclusion to not write, it's not even close, but to understand who I am in this world at this stage of my life. I left I left this area, Santa Monica, Venice, nearly 50 years ago to embark on a journey to Asia, eventually as a Buddhist monk. And here I'm sitting on this May 1st day I'll go right to the core of the issue, and then in phases over the next hour, and if it continues into tomorrow at 9:30. April 11th, just a few weeks ago, I was talking to my beloved friend Janine Davies in Vancouver, and there was an incredibly sharp pain in my chest. We both concurred on the spot. This is a moment to not wait, to go to the emergency room here in Santa Monica, where they immediately entered me based on these sharp chest pains and hooked me up to all kinds of machines. And soon thereafter, the doctor came in and said, what you came in for is not what we're going to tell you. And you have a fractured rib, which is the source of the pain in your chest, in your left side, probably by sneezing hard. But we've detected with the CAT scan that you have a fatal disease known as, words very foreign to me, an acute ascending aorta aneurysm, the largest artery out of the heart, is at a size where it can burst, rupture, dissect, they call it, at any second. It's a miracle that you're here. It's known as an SK disease, or the silent killer, and most just simply die. It's often asymptomatic, which is amazing. So we've found this fatal disease, and we're going to connect you immediately on Zoom to a cardiac surgeon at UCLA, in which, based upon what we've seen in the CT scan, urgent, immediate surgery, which through dialogue and a bit of research on the spot is super complicated. Open heart surgery, cutting your sternum open, 6 hours under anesthesia on a cardiovascular bypass machine in which they put your heart and your lungs on a machine, and there's 10 different people there. And survival rate is good, complications are high. And so all of a sudden I'm in this Las Vegas with my body, gambling on do nothing on the spot. Hey, Mr. Clements, many people die at a much less size of aneurysm than this. And they release me, and here I am 3 weeks later, having seen, blessed through friendships and the serendipity of chance, the head of the cardiac unit at UCLA Medical here in Westwood, and then the former head of cardiac surgery at Cedars-Sinai, another colleague of the UCLA medical team, another cardiac surgeon. I met with him. I met with a cardiac doctor, and then of course the principal care doctor who specializes in cardiac issues. So I've met with 5 different doctors, 3 different nurses, hours of research over the last 19, 20 days. And I would say it's been a shock initially to be given this, you must act right now, and they spare nothing with their unvarnished, raw, uncensored, straight talk about both the urgency, the complications of the surgery. 3, 4, 5 die on the table, another 8 or 9 of complications within the first 10 to 2 weeks. The likelihood, the possibility of second aneurysms, third aneurysm. You become a surgery rat. And so I've had to really dive deep into this circumstance. And I want to, first of all, say from my heart to yours, from my beloved friends and family, you know who you are, who have been there in this last 3 weeks, especially on top of decades of intimacy and time. To say I love you, and I am deeply honored and grateful for your care, your kindness, your openness, your purity, your vulnerability with me is truly an understatement. So thank you from my heart. I've had to live every hour since April 11th with this uber super urgency based upon very professional minds talking about the critical nature of this, and also tempered with trying to understand what it means to have and undergo this surgery, which it's not guaranteed. There's numerous tests, and I'm in that process. I spent several days in the hospital and clinics, and go back again on Monday for further tests this week. Some of them I have not done because they're invasive and also potentially complicated. And without being too technical, because this is all very new to me, but I've become somewhat a little bit of a backdoor scholar on aorta and aneurysms in the heart, that there's also underlying heart problems. And then it's unknown at the moment the shape of the valves, the health of the arteries, which of course the concept of bypass surgery is quite common, double bypass, triple bypass, quadruple bypass. So all of these intersecting issues, it turns out, make open heart surgery, as I'm told by these surgeons, and they're all in agreement about this, a very unique experience to the individual based upon your own biological basis, your historical basis, your blood work, your heart rate, your underlying conditions, your age, your family, your genetic coding. And they're trying to really figure out this very deep tapestry, all based on science and medicine, on, am I, Mr. Clements, a candidate for surgery? What's the likelihood of non-complications and, of course, survival? And then really looking at, okay, what is the future of my life outside of being told that you can die at any second? And of course, who hasn't that reflection a lot of the time in our lives? We all are dying, right? I mean, I've lived my last 50 years with ardent pursuit of understanding the impermanence of life and the existential uncertainty and the mystery of this complexity called samsara. But this cutting it back to a kind of 911, this is really, Mr. Clements, a serious, urgent issue. So take care of your family matters, your belongings, your will, and then it's coupled with, if in fact it is to rupture, the word that they use, or to dissect this 4-inch section of the heart. There's an artery that goes right up from the heart and makes a U-turn down into the lower section of the body, and then at the very top there's arteries that go to the brain and the neck and the arms. And I've become, with their help, looking at my heart for the last 3 weeks in these diagrams and these 3D replicas. And there's a 4-inch section from the heart valve up to the 3 arteries at the top that go to the brain. That's, as they call it, very enlarged, and at any moment could burst or rupture, where you bleed to death inside. And they make it very clear that it's an extremely, they emphasize this, horror on Elm Street story, that when it ruptures, it's between a minute or 20 before you are just writhing and screaming in horrible death. And it's like a 5 to 10% likelihood of survival. They even tell you don't really want to survive. And if you're not within a mile or 2 or 3 of the emergency room, there's not much chance at all. And in fact, I tracked down through a friend of a friend and talked quite extensively with this gentleman. He was just simply walking down the street in Sydney, my age, and just instantly, non-drinker, non-smoker, and just fell over screaming. And he happened to be within a mile of the hospital. His wife came, and he was in coma for 3 weeks, and he survived. And he's sort of happy that he survived, but he is really, really disabled. And so it brought up the issue, and it's bringing up the issue repeatedly for me, that beyond the pragmatism and the practical details of what I'm sharing, this whole thing, we all know that we're dying, but very few people, I think, really look at the terror of death, if you have that, in its intimate glory. And so, in my case, for me, and no doubt for you as well, if there's any value in this sharing together, the angel of death has asked to dance. And I am not clear. I'm not clear. I've got a lot of clarity, but I'm not clear exactly where I'm going with this challenge. But my sense is that I am getting more clear by the hour and by the minute. And I hope to, through this process, with those of you who are tuning in and hanging with me and texting and talking on FaceTime and showing up here at my home, my temporary monastery here in Santa Monica, bequeathed to me by the beloved Jenny Chardoff and her husband Robert Chardoff, my dear beloved friend who passed away in 2016. I want to talk about that a little bit later. I think I know what I'm going to do. I think it's deeply related to what I've always done in my life, which is to elevate, strengthen, and liberate as much as humanly possible within my own vulnerable human encasement and cognitive skills, to not only take this higher, but I'm calling it my Bodhi tree moment, my Nibbana moment, my ascension, my redemption, my elevation, my greatest opportunity in life to be gifted, right? To be gifted face on with this thing that we know that we always are in all the time: old age, disease, death, mortality, extinction, the disintegration of galaxies simultaneous to this moment of us talking and sharing, always in context to the inevitables of anicca and of death. And what is, which is for me, what is the cry, the Dhamma scream, the deepest passions of my heart right now? And I can feel that I'm just really becoming very, very activated in quality over longevity. I have to say, and I know it sounds, I don't know what it sounds like, but I'm feeling more and more. It's like, no cliche intended, but I'm going to take the angel of death up with her invitation to dance, because I do not have fear. I do not notice fear in me. I'm going like, where is it? It's supposed to be there. I do not see it. Yes, there's moments of poignant vulnerability, but it's not fear. I do not sense it in my soul. I do not feel it in the rezone of my existential roots into the nibbanic experience of unconditional release from the encasement of the propaganda of fear. It's a propaganda. I can see it. Yes, it's primordially wired into our psychological roots, right? But if there's ever been a time in my life, fuck it, man. This is an unshakable conviction moment. Are you like on drugs? Are you like high on idealism? Are you riding the wave of the boys and girls on the streets of Rangoon and Mandalay and Monua and Malmin and Kachin State and Shan State and your beloved Burma that are basically saying, 3 fingers up, we refuse to participate in the politics of your terror. We will never stop, right? Until our country is free. Give us liberty or give us death. Big sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for the ability of the people of Myanmar allowing me and me riding on the crest of their ethical, spiritual, existential courage. So, there's been 6 key concepts I've been thinking that have been very instrumental to me. And going to again just serendipity around corners and avenues and naps and tunnels and skylights and a little bit of acid, and we'll find hopefully a resonance here. And I want to again thank you, beloved friends and family, acquaintances, digital savants, lovers, former lovers, teachers, no gurus, for being in my life, being in my heart. It's an invitation to come dance at this ecstatic dance party with Miss Angel, the Tantra angel of death. Hey, lover, let's do what's required to take the fear out of my own soul. It's a condition. I remember so many times traveling around the world, looking into the fires of burning ghats. You've done it in Varanasi, in Calcutta, and seeing bodies burn and that phyllo dough being just peeled back, revealing the existential essence that really what you imbue in that thing called, oh my God, the terror of death. It's really the kind of deeper primordial fantasy projections upon the inevitables. You really want to turn this into a celebration? Come dance with me, angel. I'm really inviting all of you out there that really care about the Dhamma, that care about living. I don't want to put it in your heart and face, but if you're in my life, I want to take it higher. I am facing it right now, and I refuse to participate in the propaganda that somehow longevity is better than high quality. I don't want to be dealing with unthinkable complications post-surgery. They're a very strong likelihood. They talk about a month or two, some 6, some 12 months to get back to 100% and 10, 12% of a second aneurysm, 12% within 3 to 5 years, 5 years of a third aneurysm. Then there's the possibility of stroke and heart attack and blood clots and these underlying conditions that you have, Mr. Clements, that make your own, issues very potentially complicated. Those aren't very inviting things to bring to the party, all to promote this thing of more time, more time, more time. When everything is right, cut right back to quality, isn't it? Quality. Sharpening the faculties of your samvega, the deepest, most radical urgency to be the best that you can be on the terms of your most liberating presence. And then the embodiment of mindfulness right now. Boy, I've never felt more impassioned to increase the velocity, the intensity, the ease of being, the purity of my Dhamma intelligence, to feel. So these 6 qualities, if I may: samsara, facing reality clearly. The 4 noble truths of the Buddha, especially the first noble truth. I got turned on to that when I was about 18. The truth of dukkha, the truth of suffering, you can't escape it through form. Every one of us at this moment on this planet, every animal, every bird, every insect, every human being that's ever been born is dealing exactly what Alan Clements is dealing with, exactly what you're dealing with. It's all degrees of seconds. I was listening to a podcast with the Professor Paul Ehrlich recently, the professor at Stanford, a biologist and also a great environmentalist, talking about this 6th mass extinction that we're in at the moment. And how there have been 5 previous, there's going to be 4, 10, 20, 50 more before the Earth itself is engulfed by the sun, some 200 million years from now, where the entire flames of that thing out there, 96 million miles away, that we get our food grown by and we get sunscreen to keep us from burning, it will engulf the entire planet. Hello, the angel of death, no matter what you think of your own mortality, how long you've got, 200 million years. And he said, extinction from a human perspective is slow motion. It's all there, all the markers are there. But from a deep environmental perspective, a cosmological perspective, it's instantaneous. Now, if I were to really embody this angel of death, okay, it's been cut back to here and now. You never know, Mr. Clements, from this point on in your life, if you do not undergo immediate surgery. It's Russian roulette. It's a fuse that's very short, they tell you. It's a ticking bomb. It's a radiator hose from a radiator to the block engine. It's frayed any second. And it may be a month, it may be a week, it may be, we don't know how long it's been there. That's why we can't tell you. Well, can't we just wait and measure it? You can, but you might die in between that. It's like, okay, I got it. What about if we wait a month? Well, you can, but it may not show any growth, and still you're in the same predicament. You may have lost your life. What if we waited 3 months then? Well, you could, but can you contain the anxiety and the stress of living in every second with the possibility of this catastrophic rupture and dissection? Yep, I've been trained that way. I'm like, I can't say I'm in bliss. It's something more pure than that. It's opened my heart more and more to 50 years of ardent Dharma work, to why deviate from the core theme that's driven me my entire adult life? Why not? Why not just go for the highest radiance of freedom humanly possible with this gift? Most people never know. They end up in a hospital bed with a tumor or cancer. I've been given this gift. I've got time to prepare. I can have a party. I can do acid. I can make love. I can stand naked. I don't need to write a book again. I can do and say anything I want to do anytime I want to do it. And so what? Fuck you, rupture. Fuck you, dissection. So what if it hurts? I didn't get up from a sitting in meditation and cry or bring in morphine tanks into the meditation hall in Burma to ameliorate the pain. Fuck that pain. That's propaganda. Pain can be a source of enlightenment, awakening, and ecstasy. I spent a lot of time sitting and walking, as you have. I refuse to vilify that dukkha vedana as a problem. And so, okay, you're talking like hotshot Dharma savant at the moment. Got it. Well, guess what? I'm going to keep rising higher and upward. I'm not convinced that these beloved surgeons who just do the scalpel really well, I really like them actually, straight talkers, but God, that hospital setting now with COVID and my historical record of amoebic dysentery and cholera and dengue and hepatitis, and I think I got COVID in Bali, and all these underlying conditions, it's like, yep, it's possible complications with what you've got in your left ventricle. We don't know exactly, but it looks to be underlying heart tissue issues, and the possibility through the angiogram, where we go into an invasive probing to see your arteries, the scarring, the clogging. It's like all of a sudden I am months and months and months in recovery, barely able to walk and breathe, full-time nurse for a week or 2 or 3, shuffling, 36 weeks of intensive rehab on treadmills, and my mindfulness, my radiance of mind that I just treasure, the clarity of consciousness that I've worked on for my entire life, is compromised for the sake of healing this little valve story and this artery story, and risking walking across the street and 4 or 5 people out of 100 get hit. That's not very interesting to me. And then there's another 8 or 9 that get dinged in such a way that they're kind of like permanently disabled. I kind of like the way I am right now, and I don't have a fear of death. I don't need to be fixed. And I'm telling myself, don't buy the propaganda, don't buy the propaganda. But beloved surgeons, I mean, they do what they do out of love and compassion. And so it's not a rock and a hard place. That's just an old historical reference to not embody the deeper intensity of my conviction in what's true. And so these 6 qualities, samsara, the 4 noble truths, the primacy of samvega and mindfulness, the urgency of life. What a gift it is at the moment that I feel to engage with other. I'm already there with most of the time, but I'm not saying no small talk, but just make it about you and me and feeling and openness and the immediacy of a communion. And it really brings me to the 4th quality, which is something that's very special for me, which is this spiritualized, eroticized bodhisattvic Ubuntu, a combination of concepts that just speak to the sapiosexual nature of interrelatedness to take it a notch into a liberating experience. The dance of psychic intuitive shared space. All of the Buddha suttas that I study are all about the sapiosexual liberating Dhamma, erotification of Ubuntu in the Bodhisattva of shared space. He's talking, they're interrelating, creating liberating energies together. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And I can feel the radiance of that. So samsara, the Four Noble Truths, the primacy of samvega, radical urgency. If you knew, like I know at the moment, that you've been given this kind of cool diagnoses in a weird way, a gift on the existential palette of the Buddha, really. Well, let's play it safe. Let's inhibit the space. Let me do what I need to do before I die. And it's like, for me, I've kind of done everything I want to do except prepare to live in the highest radiance and in preparation to what appears to be, as these illustrious surgeons have repeatedly said, your end is so near, it's here and now. And there's no way to understand when that here and now will be here and now. But it's known as the silent killer, and it will kill you. You will die if you do not soon, like immediately, undergo radical open heart surgery. And it's like, how soon is now? Well, the statistics, and they all have different ways of interpreting them. And there's so many people that pass on, they say, never knowing how it happened, because they don't do autopsies on most people. And boys and girls in their 20s or 30s without any history of smoking or drinking or stress or high blood pressure or high cholesterol just die of this thing. And let me pause here. You kind of want to go with, oh my God, for the last 15 years, it's been nothing but unremitting dukkha. From your awakening to extinction, to the catastrophe of the vilification of Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and the heartbreak of that, based upon the corporate propagandist media of the New York Times and CNN and the BBC and the Washington Post. And here she is, your dear ally and friend, and other friends are being put under arrest. She doesn't even know about this satanic military, not a coup d'etat, a satanic terrorist group that's just persecuting and terrorizing the people of Burma, while the pathetic world community just kind of thinks it's a Netflix special or Game of Thrones season 9. Welcome to Myanmar's Evil Fest. It's like, what? The United Nations issuing terse statements, and China and Russia saying non-interference in the Game of Thrones episode that the junta there, the terrorist group, will sell to Netflix here in LA, and it'll be the next season of our Game of Thrones. Global evil confronted by the civil disobedience movement. The bloodfest of totalitarianism being questioned. It's just something so sick about all this stuff and twisted. I think I want to live longer so that I can experience unthinkable heartbreak, dukkha. I know in my heart, and I've been planning it for the last couple of years, I am doing everything possible. And those of you who are close to me, even on my birthday in Burma, 2 back, with a group of beloved travelers on my last journey to that beloved country, I made an open declaration that I want no more to do with this manusa loka, this human world. I want to do what I need to do in these final moments of life to take my Dhamma as high as possible, to be reborn in Tusita with the next Buddha to be, Maitreya. There I want to live in the radiance of this very unusual anti-cult of savants who cherish human deva consciousness and the play of insight and wisdom and love and compassion and forms of eroticism and tantrification of psychic space. Yes, I want to delight in those fields of romance and freedom, to take birth with the Buddha to be in this last incarnation. And it brings up the fifth point, samsara, the Four Noble Truths, the primacy of samvega and sati, the eroticized Ubuntu, 4, and Nibbana, 5. Nibbana, I didn't bring it. Nibbana, the Buddhist Pali concept of the deathless, ever-present unconditionality, not so much a state, but a radiance of oceanic, transparent access if attachments are relaxed. The nibbana of non-attachment, the nibbana of uprooting, which is what drew me to Buddhism, the complete non-participation in greed, anger, and delusion, the sources of suffering or dukkha. There's something so breathtaking about that concept, and I've never felt it more intimately. And I've felt it very intimately for many, many years in my life, in meditation especially, but never so much in the immediacy of shared space here and now in my life. Why postpone, right? As cliched as that sounds, non-postponement when the angel of death is saying, come, Mr. Clements, dance with me, make love with me, ever present any moment, here and now. In breath, out breath, neither wish to live nor fear death. I heard that thousands and thousands of times, and now the radiance of that is so pure. You may be sensing like, wow, is he in denial? Is he martyring his life? I don't know, but I'm going with the flow here in this self-liberating existential therapy fest with you, and thank you for participating, trying to discover the truth for me. But the last quality is authenticity. So samsara, the Four Noble Truths, the primacy of samvega and sati, the issue of shared space and relationships, and the play of that choreography. Isn't that what we're doing here? We all want to be on the existential Tinder. This is really like a trans hookup now. We're in simultaneity with love making on the most intimate expression of our tantrified Dhamma, nibbanifying shared space. How can we be unconditional together? There is no tomorrow. Mr. Clements, you could die any second. Hey, you out there, wherever you are, friends and family, have no mercy, no pity on me, please. I hope this reflects back to all of us. You and I are always in the same position, in breath, out breath. We never know. We never know. And all of a sudden, okay, I got it. Open the mouth, drop the psilocybin, low dose, medium dose, nibbantify the dose, ubuntify who you're with, pull out all the stops of self-censorship. It's like, whoa, I think I'm going to pretend for a couple of hours and like win applause and get followers here as I die. Authenticate, authenticate, liberate, elevate. Authenticate, authenticate. This is my mantra right now. Authenticate, authenticate, elevate, liberate. In breath, out breath. Love, feel, emote, cry. Don't even fear that angel's radical sword or dagger of merciless murder of your heart. And people want to pin onto you. You live so long out of the box. You must have been incurring unthinkable stress with all of those struggles that you've dealt with, right? It's a kind of existential, subtle shaming. that you broke your heart because you felt. And it's so interesting to just, for me right now, I'm writing a list of all the most nuanced forms of propaganda, self-diminishment narratives. It's like, I'm not gonna, I'm walking to my Bodhi tree. I'm calling off the future so big time that planning is something I'm gonna have to do, but it's gonna be about right here and right now. Lose practicality, Alan. I'm saying authentication is the sixth virtue for me right now. And those of you who know me, I've not really lived so close to puppeting or being puppeted. But if there's ever been a call to get naked in the authenticity of your dream, throw off whatever the shackles are of the continuity of your familiar, right? If there's any gift in what I'm sharing with you that you can reflect back to me, hold me intimately accountable to these words, these energies, elevate with me, grow with me, liberate with me, nibbanify, ubuntify, tantrify. Let's party. Let's celebrate. There is no need to pretend that there's a future to protect. I want no tears. I want no cemetery. Burn, burn, burn with authenticity. And if there's a cremation, so be it. I have so little in my will to give, it's a burden. Books that never sell, a litany of tapes and videos, a film I'm very proud of, Spiritually Incorrect, this new book. Let me close today with a little bit of the process I've been in. For the last couple of weeks, in the last 30 years or so, it's been a serendipity of choices to face the human condition and learn from it. Looking at the deformed people on the streets of Calcutta who live in a 3-meter square their entire life, to the burning ghats, to the war zones, to the sacred silences of people coming to the monastery in Burma who were given terminal illnesses or diagnoses of terminal illnesses. When they've meditated and had the Dharma cure, others died there. But the sacred silence of challenging your own identity, your own attachment to comfort, your own attachment to looks and longevity, facing death heartbeat by heartbeat was something that we learned to do as nuns and monks in the monastery, and now ever more present, a heart that's ready to rupture. It's like, wow. And living in this historical record of being in monasteries and refugee camps and brothels and sex workers and romantic partners and ghettos, impoverished areas of South Asia, soldiers, looking into the face of the diversity of samsara and learning from that. I remember looking out in the city of Hue in Vietnam, where I had gone with my partner at the time, Petra, to do a film that was invited of me to write by my beloved deceased friend here, Robert Chardoff, who's most known for all of the Rocky movies and The Right Stuff. We were dear friends, went to Burma together, to India together, married, he and his wife, his beloved wife, Jenny. And here I am in their house, in his house, in their house, and looking out over that vast horizon where B-52 bombers just dropped bombs, and you see these crevasses 50 meters deep into the land, and Agent Orange that was sprayed to defoliate that the land is like concrete decades later. The human condition is what I'm saying, and I face these realities. And Burma the Next Killing Fields in 1990 in the jungles of the Karen State and Shan State, and seeing decapitated heads put on stakes by the Burmese military, the terrorist group that's taken over the country, still today facing death. So many great opportunities to look into the face of this angel of death. And here in these last weeks, facing that as well, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I've lived my life, as I reflect upon it right now, by seeing these inevitables. And I want to close today there's a part of me that's the poet, part of me that's the pragmatist. I want to reiterate to myself that what I'm saying is not conclusive to a decision on whether to intervene surgically or to agree to that. My strong intuition is to ramble on and find the love of my life that I know to be my Dhamma, my Nibbana, my sapiosexual bodhisattvic ubuntufication of shared space, my Four Noble Truths, my dance with samsara, my radical authenticity. I refuse to participate here in any conformity to obligations. And it's difficult for me to say this final point is, why not take the greater odds of living? Why not do it for your daughter? Why not do it for your friends? Why not do it for the future of what could be your heightened experience? I don't know that I want to go down the road of the potential of deep existential spiritual Dhamma fatigue. I've been in the hospitals these last 3 weeks, and you see a lot of people there that are barely able to walk on tubes, masked, bent over, sitting in wheelchairs, being wheeled around in beds. It's not a very encouraging condition to think that that could and will be my future in surgery, post-surgery, and the possibility of complications. It just doesn't inspire me to purposefully diminish the radiance of my mind and my heart and my vigilance for the role at the existential roulette wheel of more longevity of what? A rolling thunder of complications, of medicines and high pain relievers. It's not a landscape that's all that appealing. Whereas the gift in the vitality that I feel, I can imagine the next 3 months, if I were to live that long, to create and co-create a magical, existential, physical garden with your support of unthinkable Dhamma potential. I have never been this activated, even ordaining, even in the height of meditation, this turned on to present time, present mindful intelligence, feeling the gift of Samvega, the radical, beloved urgency of love making with the angel of death and the angel of love and the angel of Nibbana. And so I hope there's something in this where you resonate. Thank you for participating today in this serendipity of it's so easy to use the word dilemma, but that narrative is not appropriate. It's not a dilemma. It's not a crisis. And I want to say it's not even really a challenge. If I really, really, really feel into my heart, which is something I'm going to do the rest of the day tonight before I share the second part of this tomorrow and process more intimately and more deeply. You know, there's a part of me, big part, very, very, very sensitive part of me where I hear my daughter, Bella, live for me. The very thought of that creates palpitations. It's so subtle, that hook of deciding for another. It's intimate, precious, beloved. If she hears this, you, Sarabella, the greatest love I've ever known on planet Earth, outside of Dhamma and integral to Dhamma. You, beloved girl. However, when I really feel the truth of what I feel right now, should I not live, I want you to know I chose an unshakable position in my soul that says, hey, if you ever doubt, you can say to yourself that my dad chose fearlessness over everything. And I am going to live my life in this unshakable confidence of a fearlessness in my authenticity, in my pursuit of understanding the faces of samsara. Should you decide to embody the Four Noble Truths and the efficacy and the primacy of Samvega and Sati, mindful intelligence, which I encourage you to do, seek it through your own means and through Janine and through Ingrid. And dance with the inevitable angel of death. It's always there. Whether it be through the certainty of the upcoming, that we're already in mass extinction. Days ago, boys and girls in Burma were celebrating the victory of a civilian government. Hundreds are dead, thousands imprisoned, a country breaking under the terror of this regime and fighting courageously. Wow, what a tapestry. So when I think of longevity, I don't buy into that. But what I want to buy into more and more, dear Bella, is a fearlessness and an authenticity of my conviction in liberation over time and location and comfort. And even more time with you. I want you to know this truth is a higher love than even being in your presence. As much as I hope that happens, like, soon. And I will close with, if we never see each other again, if that ever happens, pray it's not true. I love you, thank you, from my heart to yours. It is not a broken heart. It is not a damaged heart. Those are all things that happen inevitably by being born in a body. Boys and girls 2 and 3 die of tumors and illnesses. It is the nature of this samsara. May I invite you to invite me, to invite our Sangha, our samsaric Sangha, our friends and family, our beloved children, our uncles, our parents, whomever's near to us. Let us invite each other into the open-hearted authenticity of a mindful relationship of death, and take the terror out of it, to take the fear out of it, and take the hand of your angel and say, I love you. I want to know you. I want to make love with you. I want to liberate through you and together into this great unconditional nibbana field that is the greatest hope of my life, is to live beyond the fear of death. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for being in my life. Reach out in any way that you wish. You're very free to share this with anyone. I have openly talked to you and to me about my heart. Okay, have a great day, and hope to see you tomorrow.